How's it going?
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me once again. This is a Monday night. Today is September 18th. I got to go to the doctor today, And she confirmed what I had been fearing, and I say fearing, but I was kind of expecting. They are going to squeeze this baby out of me at 37 weeks, whether I like it or not. So I'm gonna have a planned induction the first or second week of October. I'm gonna do everything in my power to make it the second week of October because I would infinitely prefer to let the baby cook for a little bit longer. I'm going to talk to the pediatrician on the 6th of October, and I need to do that before I have the baby. And when I set this date initially, it was later than I wanted, but there was plenty of time before the baby was due. So I didn't think it would be a problem, but here we are, and we keep pushing it back. I was hearing 39 weeks maybe, but now they're saying 37 because they do not want me to get preeclampsia, which is fun. Andy's in the chat. If you want to pester him, for sure do that. I'm very excited. The baby looks beautiful. I am so thrilled. And it's just a little bit sooner than we thought it would be. So we have a few additional things to do before then. And I think that we're going to be just fine. But it's a little bit overwhelming. So we have a bunch of stuff to do. And we'll see how it goes. Weenie Beanie Burr says the 19th is my birthday, October or September. Happy birthday in either case. Jared says, hopefully still means congrats, Lydia. I hope you guys are all ready. Yeah, we've had 8.5, almost 9 months to get ready for this stuff, and everything's pretty much in order. Everything's assembled. We have, a bed for the baby and everything. So babies don't really catch you off guard, but you can be more or less prepared. And I think we've got pretty much everything good to go. I just want to make sure we have like food stored in the freezer or the fridge or whatever we want to do, and try and make sure that we are as ready to be as healthy as long as possible. Because I'm not going to be much good for the first few weeks for sure. Yeah, so that's super exciting. I'm just ordering things left, right, and center that I was kind of putting off. No more procrastinating on that for sure. But we have fun news for today. I don't know if you guys knew this, but the U.S. military, competent as they are, we're going to talk about that too, actually ended up losing a multi-million-dollar plane in a move that actually blows my mind. But they found it. So no need for civilians to keep their eyes peeled any longer, which is literally something that the military was hoping for, or was asking for, which is really fun and exciting. Let me see if Libs of TikTok has the breakdown of why we shouldn't be surprised that the military let this happen. Because she posted something about this. Let's just look at Libs of TikTok's Twitter timeline. It's good times. Weenie Beanie says, my son was born July 11th, free Slurpee Day. I knew a guy whose birthday was the 11th of July too, and he had a great time. He always said he always pretended that free Slurpee Day was all about him, for sure. Get ready for a 3 sleepless months. Yes. So a fun thing that happens, I've been learning about, is that at about 4 months, babies get what's called a sleep regression. So you might have finally figured out how to get them to sleep and how they like to sleep and what their schedule is, and kind of gotten them on a schedule. And then at 4 months, that's all in the garbage because babies are... So there's a theory that babies are supposed to have 4 trimesters, because tri means 3, but they're supposed to be baking for a little bit longer than they do. And the reason they can't bake for longer is because my hips, wide as they are, cannot accommodate a baby head that's just a little bit bigger. So it's just such an arms race between baby's head and mom's hips, right? The diameter of the pelvis. So humans have finally got it down to kind of a fine art where we can have a baby, but we have to have them a little bit early because if we don't, we're not able to give birth to them naturally. And that is obviously an evolutionary disadvantage. But let's just hop right into it. Let's see. What did I want to start with tonight? I don't even remember. I've been rambling for too long. They did lose that plane. Yes. We're going to talk about Chicago's plans for grocery stores. That's fun. We're talking about a racist... it's like a bar in St. Louis, and they are being called racist because they now have a dress code, and people are being really dumb about it. So we'll get into that. In fact, let's open with that because it's kind of silly, and I want to see what you guys think. So this is an interesting dress code. I didn't go through the whole thing, so we'll go through it together now. Let me make sure you guys can see the whole thing. St. Louis restaurant Social Bar and Grill is accused of racism for a very long list of new rules, including no hoodies, saggy pants, or sleeveless tank tops on men. But that's not all. There's a bunch of other weird stuff, so we'll see what happens. Social Bar and Grill Soulard, located in downtown St. Louis, enacted the new dining rules and dress code earlier this month. More than 600 commentators went to Reddit to express their angst. Okay, so first of all, Reddit is a cesspool. We know this, nothing new there, and anybody on Reddit is extremely left-leaning, so we already know what they think. But let's see what the requirements are. Jared says, I heard the hypothesis that human babies are born underdeveloped because the brain needs to still be small enough to pass through the birth canal. Yes. That is that theory of the 4th trimester. So the first trimester after they're born, they want to be treated like they're still in utero. Like they want to be swaddled and they want the sound and they want to be really, really close to mom. And that makes sense to me, right? If you know anything about newborns, they're very kind of, they like a very specific set of things. They don't get onto any kind of routine. You can't spoil them. They're just going to cry to let you know when they're hungry or uncomfortable. But anyway, let's continue. A St. Louis restaurant has sparked a massive backlash after enacting a lengthy list of new rules, including no hoodies, saggy pants, or sleeveless tank tops on men, despite its own staff being scantily clad in tiny uniforms. That is interesting. The restaurant in Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri, posted their new policy outside the bar's front window and on an easel at the host stand earlier this month. According to the new dress code, masks, hoodies, saggy pants, backpacks, men's sleeveless tank tops, and overly revealing outfits are now forbidden in the establishment. I want to know why masks aren't allowed. I'm concerned. My thought initially is not COVID. My thought initially is that there's maybe concern about crime, right? And that to me would make sense if they also don't want people to wear backpacks or for men to wear bags, right? If you don't want to be stolen from, make it harder for people to steal from you. One of the ways you can do that is by making sure that they don't have bags to stuff things into and they don't have masks to hide their identity, right? The bar gave little detail on the reason for these new rules and just stated, in an effort to provide an enjoyable experience for fellow diners and staff, we ask that you respect our policies. They ended the letter by stating that everyone is welcome, but also added, we reserve the right to refuse service, our house, our rules. Fine, whatever. Many patrons were furious, stating that the rules were hypocritical, with more than 600 people expressing their angst on Reddit. And I gotta stop and ask the question that I know that everybody is thinking right now. How many of the people on Reddit are actually from St. Louis? Probably none. Probably none. Some claimed that the rules were racist or anti-LGBTQ, while others appeared amused, asking if this was the same establishment that once had their servers dressed topless, adorned only in body paint. Oh my, that is spicy. In response to these rules, someone wrote, F this place, implicit racism and right-wing BS. You have absolutely no grounds for saying that, but go on. Another said, no revealing outfits from the place that used to have their female staff paint their torsos. That is interesting. What a weird dichotomy, right? No masks, men's bags, backpacks, hoodies, saggy pants, sleeveless tank tops, no overly revealing outfits. Yeah, spicy, given that they used to dress like this. A recent post of some of the servers wearing all white while holding some alcohol. Those are, I would call those revealing outfits. Now, they're not Hooters, but at the same time, what are they going for here? So I was kind of mystified by this. I was like, what are you doing here? I'm curious how I'm just curious what the crime is like in this neighborhood where they're located. Like, I don't think that they're doing this for no reason. Oh my, yeah. See, this is how the ladies used to dress. That's way worse than Hooters. Can you imagine going to work like that? I would be so uncomfortable. So uncomfortable. Check out our paint. Oh my. Yeah, so they're clearly they have a little bit of a double standard when it comes to their servers versus the rest of the people. But again, this isn't per se about the women, right? This sounds to me more like a crime prevention thing. And for Reddit to immediately jump to racism just makes me think that the people on Reddit are racist. Weenie Beanie says, so Fetterman can't go to this place. I guess not. That's a good point. We're going to have to talk about the dress code in the Senate, too, because that was interesting as well. They have functionally made it so that everybody could dress like John Fetterman, and it's gross. I don't like it. And Ron DeSantis has already commented on it. He's like, this is not good. We need to be raising our standards, not lowering them. Yeah. Lori is here. Welcome, Lori. Happy you're here. Flying Falcon says, ladies, this is why men like wide hips. Yes. Pretty much everything men use to judge women's physical appearance is based on whether they'll be good at reproduction, which is interesting to know and makes you feel a little bit less, take everything a little less personally. Dirk says you'll go into labor the day before you go to the hospital. I don't think I will because I'm going to be a couple weeks out from full term, which is unfortunate. That's why I said they're going to squeeze this baby out of me one way or another. I think they're going to have to induce me, which means they're basically going to be forcing me to go into labor. So let's see about that Senate dress code. And then we will talk about the mysterious missing plane. Dun, dun, dun. Majority Leader Chuck Schumer loosens the Senate's informal dress code. Senate rules change to lift dress code stirs up controversy. Over what? Over Fetterman's attire. Yes. He's 100% the reason this is happening. There's just no one else. U.S. Senator John Fetterman can now wear his shorts and signature hoodie on the Senate floor without violating the Senate dress code. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer quietly made the change, telling the Sergeant of Arms to no longer enforce the longtime tradition requiring males to wear a coat and tie on the Senate floor. That's interesting to me. What do you guys think about that? Is this a big deal or is this just nothing? I feel like conservatives are going to view this a lot differently than left-leaning or more libertarian people will. Because there is a difference between being casual and being chaotic. And I feel like John Fetterman's attire is just disrespectful. Like, wow, you signed up to do a job that requires you to dress a certain way. And instead of just doing it the way you're supposed to, like a professional, you have to bend the rules. You have to be outspoken, etc. Martin says it's a big deal. Slippery slope, broken window fallacy, broken window theory, etc. Yeah, for sure. I think you're right. And I fear being run by a gang of people who just dress like schlubs off the street. Like, Europeans already mock, I don't know if you guys know this, but Europeans already mock Americans for being so unbelievably casual with their dress. And I remember in my short stint in Europe, I would see girls go to the gym fully dressed, like sharply dressed, very carefully made up, hairstyled, whatever. And they would go with a gym bag and they would change in the gym. They would do their workout. They would change back to their other clothes and then they would leave. So they would not be caught dead at the grocery store wearing what they call trainers or, athletic shoes or this other stuff, these yoga pants and everything that people wear here. I don't know, man. It's not a good first impression to make on the world to dress this way. And I know it's could be considered theoretically very skin deep and not that important, but how you present yourself matters. And I'm constantly, especially given that I'm about to give birth, I'm constantly reminded of this meme image of this young man who's very sharply attired. He's wearing a business suit and he's at the hospital. And the caption is, my brother-in-law wore a suit to the birth of his nephew or whatever because he said, quote, first impressions matter. And he's right? He really is. And I don't think that everybody should have to wear a suit jacket or anything like that. Andy wore a suit jacket to our wedding, which was a really great way to mark how special it was. Serving in the government is supposed to be something dignified. It's supposed to be something important. Now, I personally, I'm so conflicted about this because I like the idea of making the government less important, right? I like the idea of making it so that people don't care what politicians do. I want to make it so that we don't view politicians as celebrities, right? I think that's a good idea. So there's one upside, but at the same time, I don't like the idea of lowering our stance in the world. I don't like the idea of making us look less than we are, right? We're already slipping in the eyes of the world. We're already not doing well. We already are a civilization in decline. And we're going to talk about that because people tend to think about the Roman Empire because they are noticing that we are declining in many of the same ways as the Roman Empire did. But we'll get to that. Adrian says, dress like a lady of the night, and it will be assumed, yes, very wise for women especially. This goes in that direction for sure. Your dress says something about you, and if you wanted to say I'm a schlub who wears hoodies to the Senate floor because I'm a disgusting dirtbag who lived at home with his parents until he was in his 40s and tries to pass himself off as a member of the working class because I'm a fraud, then sure, you can do that, but I don't like it. Weenie Beanie says any person working as the government should be held to a standard. Of course. And I think that standard should be uncomfortable. Right? I think that anybody who works for the government should be as uncomfortable as humanly possible, literally all the time. They should feel like they're walking on tenterhooks 24/7 because they should be constantly scrutinized and held to a very high standard, but we're not there. Anyway, it's disappointing to see the way these people want to present us to the rest of the world. It's classless, right? It's kind of tacky. Like, it's fine if I wear a t-shirt. I am not a government official. I'm not presenting my country to the rest of the world. Okay? I'm not on screen. I'm not having pictures taken of me all the time. I'm not held to those same standards because that's not the job I signed up for. But these people are, and they should be. But anyway, I don't know. That's just my rant. I'm just an old soul conservative lady. Randy says everybody should dress sloppy. If the whole world dresses sloppy, that's one thing. And we don't have to worry about clothing at all. But they don't dress sloppy in a lot of these places. They dress very, very carefully. Whisper says, I hate Pitocin. Pitocin is fake oxytocin, and it can cause you to have very, very painful, very powerful contractions. I remember my mom specifically saying she really wanted to avoid Pitocin when she was getting ready to give birth to one of my younger siblings. And yeah, so completely understand. But I don't know if I'm going to get much of a choice. I'm going to have to do all the natural stuff that I can. We'll have to see what happens. Painful says, Ministry of Funny Hats. Sure, we could do something like that. Honestly, I would be totally down for it. Let me pull this one article up about the Roman Empire because I want to talk about that, but that's not what we're going to talk about next. I can't spell empire to save my life. All right, well, let's see what Forbes has to say. Forbes, so interesting. Okay, this plane. What about this plane that the military lost? What the heck is happening? What happened? How did they lose it? How are they so incompetent? Debris found in search for missing F-35 fighter jet in South Carolina. Pilot safely ejected. That's good. I'm very glad the pilot ejected safely. Extra comment to boost the YouTube algorithm. Thank you, Silvermine. I appreciate that. Authorities searching near 2 South Carolina lakes on Monday for a military jet that apparently crashed after the pilot safely ejected over the weekend say that they have found a debris field. Officials say the debris was discovered 2 hours northeast of Joint Base Charleston. That makes sense since so much military stuff goes on over the Carolinas. The pilot, whose name hasn't been released, parachuted to safety into a North Charleston neighborhood at around 2 p.m. Sunday. He was taken to the hospital where he was in stable condition, Marine Major Melanie Salinas said Sunday. Corporal Christian Cortez, a Marine with the 2nd Marine Aircraft Wing, said there was a mishap involving an F-35 Lightning II jet and that the search was ongoing Monday. Exactly what happened was under investigation, he said. The search was focused on Lake Moultrie and Lake Marion, and said Senior Master Sergeant Heather Stanton at Joint Base Charleston. Both lakes are north of North Charleston. A South Carolina Law Enforcement Division helicopter joined the search after some bad weather cleared in the area. Stanton said military officials appealed to online posts Sunday for any help from the public in locating the aircraft. That was what made me laugh. What the heck are you doing? The U.S. military is asking the public for help to find this multi-million-dollar military plane. So what happened to it? It just vanished. And they're just like, yeah, we can't find it. So can you help us look for it? Yikes. U.S. military has asked for the public's help to locate one of its $100 million F-35B fighter jets after the pilot ejected. Jeez, man, this is crazy. Nancy Mace, a Republican congresswoman for South Carolina, asked on X, formerly Twitter, how in the hell do you lose an F-35? How is there not a tracking device and we're asking the public to what? Find a jet and turn it in? I don't really like Nancy Mace, but that's a great question. How did we get here? Absolutely crazy to me. The aircraft is a stealth jet, meaning its airframe, sensors, and systems are designed to operate undetected by enemy radar. But I'm sure that doesn't mean that you can't hear it or see it if it's flying over your house. The public is asked to cooperate with military and civilian authorities as the effort continues. It encouraged anyone with information that could help its recovery teams to contact its operations center. Flight tracker Flight Radar 24 posted an image on X showing several aircraft scouring the area. Jared says this whole missing military jet situation is just extra fishy. How do we even know this debris fill is from the plane, or if it was stolen or illegally sold off to a foreign bidder? Yes, and Adrian says our government is a failure. Absolutely so. That's really what it feels like, and that's kind of what Nancy Mace is pointing out. Like, utter incompetence. Holy cow. To the degree that just actually boggles our minds. Those of us who have to hold jobs in the civilian world, what? Can you imagine making a mistake that consequential? And do you think anything's going to happen to the people who are behind this plane getting lost? Because I don't. I absolutely don't. Unfortunately. I wish I did. I wish I did think that something was going to happen to them, but I don't think it will. But anyway, I wanted to see if Libs of TikTok had this, she had like a compendium image of a bunch of, oh yeah, here we go. I wonder how the military can be so incompetent and lose an $80 million jet. It wasn't 80 million, it was 100 million. So, she has this compendium. It says, did you know that members of the military can undergo a full gender transition, including hormones, mastectomies, bottom surgeries, and hysterectomies at no cost to them? But those procedures are not free. Guess who's paying for it? You. That's right. That's right. U.S. Navy hires active duty drag queen to be the face of the recruitment drive. Remember that? And we were all joking about it being the Navy? Because of course it is. Because what other branch would it be? And then of course we had this important person in the military who likes to dress up like this. And I have no further comment because this is extremely gross and extremely creepy. And that's the face of the U.S. military. So not only are we schlubs who don't know how to dress ourselves, when we do dress ourselves, we dress ourselves like this in our military attire. And we wonder why the world doesn't respect us. And we wonder why we can't recruit people into the military. It's going to be a problem. I received this from a member of the Naval Air Station where this took place. They're using our tax dollars to teach the military about pronouns. The world is laughing at us. Pax River LGBTQ plus ADAT pronouns panel. That is a PowerPoint from a military presentation. And this is their top priority. I am so ashamed. Randy says, geez, what have we become? Man, when I was growing up, I grew up in a military town, right? Colorado Springs. You had the Air Force Academy there. You had a couple different Air Force bases, and the people there were conservative. And that's part of the reason that the city itself remained conservative for a really long time. And what's so interesting to me is watching the military trying to change the kind of people that they're enlisting. It's not working. The kind of people who want to enlist in the military are young, white, conservative males, or Hispanic males, also conservative. And they're completely trying to step around this demographic and do what? Reach out in the name of inclusion and diversity? When you're trying to build a fighting force to defend your country from the rest of the world that has very serious sights on you, you need to think about what's actually going to work. You should actually think about hiring based on merit. not hiring based on skin color. But here we are. And surprise, surprise, we're doing things like losing military aircraft. I saw something earlier about the military. I forget what it was. I did see that, I think it was Nashville. I think Tennessee elected their first trans leader. And this trans leader is also a veteran, so that's fun. Man, I don't know. Wild stuff. Painful says, I love Manitou. I worked around Briarhurst Manor in Colorado is incredibly beautiful. Colorado has big mountains. Everything's very extreme in Colorado. We're in Tornado Alley. And we get really bad hail over there. And it's great. It's beautiful. You have some of the most beautiful natural sights in the world. And your lungs will be strong because you will be at a mile high. Yeah, so good stuff. Yeah, poor Colorado. I feel bad. Jared says, if a U.S. military rep is going to wear a mask, at least make it look like you're wearing a bloodied skull of an enemy to look out in battle. LOL, yes, agreed. This, I can't imagine what the rest of the world thinks of us. Have we ever seen anything like this from any other country's military? I don't think so. No, I can't think of any. Like we had, oh my gosh, we had all sorts of stuff. It's just, it's embarrassing. And I want to talk about this too. And I think that this segues nicely into this conversation about the Roman Empire, because everyone's mind is blown about how often guys tend to think about the Roman Empire. And my mind is not blown by this. I found it really interesting. And I found it interesting that people are so surprised by this, because to me it makes sense. But for a different reason than probably for most guys. So let's look at this article because it's kind of interesting. How often do you guys think about the Roman Empire? Like on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis? How many times a day? Is it often? Is it not often? What are you thinking about? Matt Walsh is pointing out that oftentimes when women ask their men, what are you thinking about right now? They're often way off in Never Neverland thinking about, 5 steps from Kevin Bacon or whatever. And it's just easier to say nothing than it is to explain what they were thinking of, which makes women uncomfortable because then they're like, well, what are you thinking about? Are you hiding something? Are you trying to plan a surprise? Whatever. Not the case. Guys just don't really want to have to explain their thoughts sometimes, and sometimes their thoughts are very silly. But let's read this a little bit. How often do men think about the Roman Empire? A lot, according to a new TikTok trend. Painful says, did we talk about Italy yet? I don't typically comment on other countries. I know that Italy is having a huge influx of illegal migration, but so are we here in the U.S., and I like the idea of focusing at home before we focus on other countries. Randy says, never. How often do I think about it? Like in what regard? Just in passing. Think about Rome. Like, oh, I bet we would have done this differently in Rome. Whatever. I bet, this is exactly how Rome looked. Whatever. Casey says, depends on what I'm studying. There you go. TikTok users are asking their boyfriends, fathers, or any other man how often they think about the Roman Empire, and surprisingly, some say they think about the fallen empire daily or even more often, sparking online confusion and launching a TikTok trend that's garnered more than 1 billion views. Wow, people are bored. According to a bizarre new TikTok trend, men think about the Roman Empire more often than you would expect, and they have plenty of reasons why, including the empire's vastness, gladiators, and architectural advancements. I can think of some other parallels. Some men enthusiastic about the empire have backed it up with evidence. Why wouldn't I think about the Roman Empire, one user asked, praising the Romans for creating aqueducts and running water and making concrete known for its strength and ability to be set underwater. Other answers are more straightforward. After one woman asked her boyfriend how often he thinks about the Roman Empire, he said every other day on average, simply because it's cool. Well, that's fine. It's pretty cool. When one TikTok user asked her brother how often he thinks about the empire, he said 2 to 3 times a week, and when she didn't believe him, he went to his computer and showed her a replica of the Colosseum he built in Minecraft, which he said took him weeks. Wow, that's commitment. In one TikTok video, which garnered 1.5 million views, likes, satirizing the trend, a group of men and women are hanging out watching football, but when all the women get up and leave, the men immediately turn on a Roman Empire documentary. That's pretty funny. Some men are recruiting their partners to love the Roman Empire too. One user said after she asked her husband if he thinks about it, they had a 45-minute conversation about the Roman Empire and then Egyptians and Neanderthals, and it led to the Big Bang, and acknowledged she may now think about the Roman Empire daily too. That's funny. That's great. I love it. Surprising fact, some celebrities have joined in the trend. Australian singer Fire Rose asked her fiance, Billy Ray Cyrus, how many times a day he thinks about the Roman Empire. 15 to 20 max, Cyrus said, specifying he thinks about gladiators. Singer and actress Kira Kosarin participated in the trend, posting a video to her 31 million followers asking her fiance how often he thinks about the empire. 3 times a day, he said, adding, there's so much to think about. Actress and Real Housewives of Beverly Hills star Lisa Rinna asked her husband, actor Harry Hamlin, the viral question in TikTok video, but his answer was a little different. Not very often, maybe a couple times a year, he said. Not every man is a fan of the Roman Empire, and a few have misattributed the fallen empire to rapper Nicki Minaj. What? In one video that garnered more than 700,000 likes, a woman asked her husband how often he thinks about it, but in response he asked, like the Nicki Minaj album? Oh my. Oh my, I'm embarrassed for your husband. Though Minaj doesn't have an album by that name, she has an album called Pink Friday Roman Reloaded, a song titled Roman's Revenge, and an alter ego she adopts named Roman. Oh, okay. In another video with nearly 250,000 likes, which also twists the trend's gender expectations, a woman asks her girlfriend how often she thinks about the Roman Empire. The Nicki Minaj fans, she replies, Minaj's fans are referred to as Barbs. I think about the Roman Empire every day, one user said before displaying a playlist of Minaj's songs. I see, this is my Roman Empire. I don't even know. Is there another one? She said, ugh, okay. Key background. The trend may have first been repopulated by Artur Hulu, known as Gaius Flavius on social media, a Roman reenactor who posts comedy sketches as a gladiator, according to a Washington Post report. The influencer first posted the viral question on Instagram last month and more recently on TikTok last week. Ladies, many of you do not realize how often men think about the Roman Empire. Ask your husband, boyfriend, father, brother. You will be surprised by their answers. Some historians have noted that the Roman Empire, which was dominant until its fall in AD 476, isn't just for men, despite what the trend may suggest. Some historians told the Washington Post's popular column may have overemphasized aspects deemed masculine, like military power and gladiators, creating a masculine image of the empire, but in reality, the Roman Empire had numerous forms of masculinity. Women could have agency and power. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Feminism was in Rome. I don't care about that at all. Like many other popular TikTok trends before it, including a girl dinner, girl math, and more, the Roman Empire trend has attracted attention for being gendered. Oh, yeah. Forbes, of course. Classic. Girl dinner went viral on TikTok over the summer as users showed off their hastily thrown together meals, which were deliberately silly, like chicken nuggets with chocolate milk in a wine glass. Girl math went viral recently thanks to users creating their own rules for spending money, which often makes little sense. Like if you spend money that you put in your Starbucks app weeks ago, the coffee isn't really costing you anything today. Delara Alviri, a Los Angeles-based entertainment lawyer, told the New York Times that the Roman Empire trend reminded her of girl dinner because neither food nor the empire are inherently gendered, and she speculated the trends grew out of current questioning of gender roles and norms in general. I have to say I was kind of grossed out by girl dinner because girls are supposed to be better at cooking and better at keeping house and better at running a kitchen, but here we are. Who knows? Anytime I read Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John, Rome, yes, definitely. If you read the Bible, if you read the New Testament, makes sense to me. How often do you think about Rome? You mean the B-52 song? I don't know. And many are our words, terms, and phrases. Common and not so common have Latin origins or bases. That's a good point, too. God the Son says, don't forget Nero using Christians as burning streetlights. Yes, it's delightful. Very, very brutal. Adrian says, your skin looks so good. Thank you. I have a little powder finally. Florida makes my skin very shiny. Adrian says, I watch YouTube historical shows on the Roman Empire, loved HBO's Rome, and think about it every week because I want reparations for enslaving my family. There you go. Silvermine says, not just Rome, but also Carthage. Adrian says, in all seriousness, ancient Rome was lit. Indeed, it was. One time I answered honestly and told her the dishes in my sink. She promptly got up and left. Those dishes are still there to this day. Whoa, all right, there you go. Well, we were taught the U.S. parallels the Roman Empire. I think about the Book of Romans. Does that count? I think that does count. Adrian says aqueducts, vomitoriums, ancient Rome was awesome. Yeah, they actually had some pretty advanced toilets going on. They had really interesting plumbing. In fact, the word plumbing comes from the fact that a lot of their pipes were lined with lead, which led to some interesting psychological conditions as far as their leaders went. I think about Rome pretty often. And when I asked Andy about this, he said, I try not to think about it too much because for both of us, we're thinking about the decline of Rome, the fall of Rome, right? And that's disturbing because it really feels like the U.S. is following in the footsteps of Rome when it comes to decline. But that would be the main reason I would think about Rome. But Rome was super cool. They had a grasp of like how to make fabrics, super cool stuff, all of that. Casey says Carthage invented all of that. I don't know about any of that. It's possible Rome stole all these ideas from other places. I wouldn't worry too much about that. But, man, here we are. Oh, you know what? Speaking of military in Rome and military recruitment, let's look at this because what I was just saying about how these people who are typically most likely to be members of the military tend to be conservative, straight-laced, all this other stuff. Yeah. The Navy puts the kibosh on digital recruiting program after discovering enlistees aren't into drag queens. How shocking! Are you shocked? I'm shocked. The U.S. Navy confirmed Tuesday it has discontinued an online recruiting initiative featuring an enlisted drag queen that was aimed at bringing new sailors into the service. I think this is one we were talking about. In May, the Daily Caller revealed that the Navy brought in Yeoman Second Class Joshua Kelly, an active duty drag queen who goes by the stage name Harpy Daniels and identifies as non-binary, to be a Navy digital ambassador. Yeah, that's the one we were talking about before. Let's see. The Digital Ambassador Pilot Program, which ran from October 2022 to March 2023, was reportedly designed to explore the digital environment to reach a wide range of potential candidates for military recruitment. Guys, there's a reason that for ages you have had one demographic joining the military. That's because that's the demographic that's most interested in the military. And I don't think you're going to change that. It feels sometimes like Democrats are arguing with brick walls because it really feels like they're trying to change things that simply are not changeable. And it's frustrating to watch, that's for sure. So in a letter sent to Senator Tommy Tuberville on Tuesday, Eric Raven, the Undersecretary of the Navy, confirmed that the branch's digital ambassador pilot program will not be continued. The Navy learned lessons from the pilot program that will inform our digital engagement and outreach going forward, he wrote. Our digital outreach efforts will maintain the important distinctions between sailors' official activities and their personal lives. Good. So this actually goes right back to what we were talking about, Americans looking like schlubs, not dressing professionally. We have decided that the personal is now important. There is nothing but the personal. That means we show up to work, whether we work at the Senate or anywhere else, in our pajamas. That means we share our entire personal lives on social media. And that means that we incredibly heavily blur the lines between personal life and professional life. And that's exactly what's happening here. And it isn't effective, right? Who wants to be part of that? I don't want people to know what I do in my spare time. I don't want people to know if I have a weird hobby. I don't think I do. I don't have any kind of weird hobbies. If I did, I wouldn't want that on full display. Like, I've literally already decided, me and Andy have talked about how we don't want our kids to be on social media. Like, if our kids want to have social media when they grow up, like literally after they turn 18 or 21, after their brains are mostly developed, that's fine. But they're not going to be on social media. We're not going to be using them as pawns to get attention on social media. And I personally really don't want any creepy pervs to get pictures of my kids, especially people on the right, need to be careful about putting their kids online because creepy people are going to use the images of their children for horrible, horrible purposes. And that's really disturbing to me. Let me check this out since we're talking about the military. Mark Milley had fun stuff to say about this. I don't even know what the word woke means. Let's see here. Mark Milley. Okay, so I don't want actual news about Mark Milley. I just want this video. Okay, we're arguing about Mark Milley. Nick Sortor. Ugh, the war in Ukraine. Absolute nonsense to me.
Woke? No, not at all. Is the U.S. military too woke? No, not at all. I'm not even sure what that word truly means, but...
Okay, first of all, I have a problem with him just being like dismissive. No, not at all. But then he makes it worse because he lies about it. Listen to what he says next.
That word truly means, but sure what that word truly means. But I would tell you that the military I see is a military that's exceptionally strong, it's powerful, it's ready. In fact, our readiness rates, the way we measure readiness, is better now of any branch.
He's full of it. He's lying and he knows it. And somebody was pointing out that anyone who says, I don't even know what that word means, is absolutely lying. He knows exactly what it means. He's pushing these ideas. He's the one who wanted these ridiculous books to be required reading in the military. And it's absolutely nuts to me that nobody even notices that. That's a big deal, okay? And he says that he sees a military that's exceptionally strong, et cetera, et cetera. It's nice that you see that, but when you are working against that end, I have to say, I doubt your loyalty very much. And as somebody who's in charge of the military, you need to stop. Seriously. Anyway, I am glad that the Navy is axing this. I hope they learned their lesson. I doubt they did, but here we are. We'll see what happens. Let's talk about the Chicago government grocery stores. I'll get you guys 2 cents on this one. Before we move on. Adrian says, my husband deleted all his social media and we are very protective of our private life. People are nuts. Yeah, exactly. In fact, Andy and I probably share more of our personal lives publicly than we probably should. But we don't have anything interesting to hide, so we're just like, it's not a big deal if people know this about us. But at the same time, I know that everything's getting so weaponized, you can never be sure. Jared says, Millie is arguably one of the biggest threats within and to our own military right now. I think so, too. Casey says, crazy thing is he wears the Screaming Eagle on his shoulder. SMH, yeah, I don't know about that. I'm not familiar enough with the military to tell you if that's a bad thing or not, but so grossed out by that officer who's wearing that mask in uniform. Wild. Yes. Adrian says share dip and dot. Yes, that is the biggest part of our personal lives that we are happy to share with you guys. They're really annoying. They're crazy. Dot ended up going to the vet the other night. She actually got she got her back leg stuck in the chair. She was jumping off the footrest, right? And her foot got stuck. And she started yelping. And he's like, oh my gosh, what's happening? Like, where's this coming? First of all, he couldn't even figure out where it was coming from. He's sitting on the chair. He's like, what's going on? What's going on? And then he ended up grabbing her and rescuing her. And she was limping for a little while. Poor thing. But that was right after she got back from the vet. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, Dot, please grow some brain cells because your dumbness is going to cost us money. Please stop. Okay, so Chicago has proposed municipally run grocery stores as vendors flee rampant crime. What do you guys think about grocery stores that are run by the city? Because that makes me nervous. But let's see what the Daily Caller has to say about it. Oh, Casey says 101st Airborne World War II heroes. That is embarrassing. I don't like that. Democratic Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson announced Wednesday that he has proposed a city-owned grocery store after several supermarket chains fled the South Side neighborhoods in the wake of rampant crime, the National Desk reported. So Brandon Johnson is what happens when people get tired of Lori Lightfoot because they want someone more communist. It's great. Really, really proud of Chicago. I've never been so grossed out by a city. And I include like San Francisco and LA. Chicago is just, man, they are a very special kind, which is too bad. Just too bad because I have family there and I care about them very much. And I wish they didn't have to live in that city, but good Lord. Johnson announced a plan to create a feasibility study for a municipally owned grocery store in response to the food deserts caused by stores' departures and claimed that the historic and purposeful disinvestment had exacerbated the inequities in the area. Eric, shut up. How about you fix the problem of crime and get back to us? Don't talk about inequity. Don't talk about intentional disinvestments. Fix the problem of crime, and this problem will be solved. There you go. I fixed it for you. You're not going to listen. Doesn't matter. A press release from the mayor's office said, of course it did, Chicago has lost at least 6 grocery stores in its crime-ridden South and West Side neighborhoods since 2021, according to the National Desk. Why? Why would you keep a grocery store in these insanely violent neighborhoods? What is the point? You're not going to be getting your money's worth. You're going to be losing more in shrink, that is shoplifting, than you will be in earning it from the actual products that you sell. Adrian says, my entire family lives in Illinois. They deserve this. Truly, they love when they vote for it and then complain about everything because they're too ignorant and brainwashed to know any better. Let them eat cake. She says, rather, most are in Chicago Metro. Yeah, man, my family's super conservative there, which is part of the reason that I'm shocked that they've decided to stay there. But no, that's where they put down roots, where they bought a house and all this other stuff. Wild to me. Yeah, Walmart is closing 4 stores in crime-ridden neighborhoods. Yeah, Chicago neighborhoods. Yeah. And you know what really sucks about that is that people who have the least money are going to be the most likely to shop at places like Walmart. It's crazy to me. Yeah, I don't get it. Walmart is closing 4 stores in Chicago, mostly on the South and West sides. Yes, it's from April. Yeah, and you can't blame them. And it's not a matter of corruption on their part, and it's not a matter of trying to disinvest. It's not a matter of racism. When you look at a company, they don't care about the color of the skin of the people who are giving them green pieces of paper. The only color that they care about is the green on the pieces of paper going into their bank accounts, right? Literally the only thing that matters. Capitalism is a great equalizer. You just want to make money. Martin says to drastically reduce crime, you need to incentivize mainly the nuclear family and create stable jobs. Right. And you see why people like Brandon Johnson cannot get behind that. Because that would go against everything that they stand for, more or less. And Brandon was a teacher, and he is, I'm sure, fully invested in that Marxist style of thinking from the education schools. Crazy to me. Lori says grocery stores only make like a 3% profit as it is. I would leave too. Yeah, if you're being stolen from in basically any capacity and you only make a tiny fraction of a percentage of profit, there is no incentive for you to stick around. And again, not because of corruption, not because of racism. Wild. Anyway, at least 15,806 thefts occurred in the 4 Chicago neighborhoods that Walmart left, while only 7% of those thefts resulted in an arrest, according to WirePoints, a local nonprofit that tracks crime in Illinois. Yeah, where is your win? Seriously, why would you consider staying in Chicago at all? I just cannot see it. Let's go to the bottom. They say the mayor's office, something. The mayor's office did not immediately respond to the Daily Caller News Foundation's request for comment. Of course they didn't. Because they know that they're lying. They know they're lying. Eric Johnson knows that he's making stuff up out of thin air. And he doesn't care. He really doesn't care. But, I wanted to leave you guys with this one since we're wrapping up right now. Doctors admit, this is really interesting. There's a reason I left this to the end, right? Doctors admit they can't tell COVID apart from allergies or the common cold anymore, highlighting how mild the virus has become. Now, if you, like me, listened to conspiracy theorists all the way through 2020 up till now, you knew or you got the impression that with each successive iteration of COVID, it would get milder and milder. And sure enough, look at this. It looks like the conspiracy theorists were right. COVID is becoming so mild that its symptoms now look like the common cold. Health officials still warn, however, the U.S. is in for another triple-demic. Blah, blah, blah. We know. We've been there. We've heard it. It doesn't matter anymore. Not going to listen. COVID patients are becoming harder to distinguish from those suffering from allergies or the common cold, doctors say. The most common symptoms of the virus are now sore throat, sneezing, or congestion, the same as RSV, asthma, or pollen allergies. Yeah. In fact, the other day when Andy had a sore throat, he had me get him a COVID test because he's like, I feel like this could be COVID. Who knows? And it's like, it wasn't. But people apparently are worried enough about it even down here. I think probably because our population is older. And when I went to look for COVID tests, I couldn't find any at the pharmacy. I had to go to the grocery store. Publix is great. Jared asks, what are they going to use to justify another possible lockdown for next year's election? I don't know. I'm not convinced they're going to try the same thing next time. They're probably going to try something new, but we'll see. Yeah, so this is where we were, 2021, 20, yeah. And this is where we are now. And the spike is tiny. And you know that people are getting sick with it, right? These are hospitalizations, not deaths, obviously. But people aren't dying from this. Like this is really nothing. And or this is just something that we're going to have to get used to. Now, the other things they mention are RSV, which is something that I'm going to have to look out for with my baby because RSV affects very young children like that, especially if we are going to have the baby at 37 weeks instead of 39 or 40. Their lungs will be a little bit less developed and a little bit more at risk for this kind of thing. So it'll be something I'm paying attention to, but I'm not worried about COVID at all. COVID does not affect children. Period. I just thought that was super interesting, and I thought I would let you guys know that that is the case and not to worry about COVID if you were in the past. All right, you guys. I have terrible heartburn. This might surprise you to learn. It is still very hard for me to breathe. And I was looking at a diagram where your uterus is basically pushing up on the bottom of your diaphragm, which is compressing your lungs, which makes it almost impossible to breathe pretty much no matter how you position yourself. I'm just trying to keep a really straight posture. Try to make sure that I'm sleeping sitting up, which is highly uncomfortable. Cannot recommend it. And trying to make sure that I'm not feeling like I'm going to drown all the time. But the heartburn is something else that is very special. So I am hoping that our child will have a bunch of hair when they're born because I hear a rumor that the hormone that allows your sphincter in your throat to relax or the sphincter in your esophagus to relax so that stomach acid can come back up is also a hormone that's responsible for baby's hair growth. So we'll have to see. I don't think we've had a baby with a lot of hair in my family anyway, not notably. We'll have to see. Jared says, good night, Lydia and everyone. Good night, Jared. Thank you for joining. Thank you all for joining me tonight. Thank you for putting up with my tales of pregnancy-related woes and concerns. I'm very excited. It's going to be a good time. I'm going to take our cars to get worked on tomorrow. That's another big step because I am not going to the mechanic with a 3-week-old baby in tow. And we're going to take the car seat over to the fire department so they can show us how to put it in, make sure we know what we're doing. Got to go and clean the cars, do all this other stuff. Just a bunch of little stuff. Keep you on your toes, keep you interested. But we will survive. We'll be just fine. Whatever happens, happens. If the baby comes while things are half done, that's okay too. All right, you guys, I will see you all tomorrow. Remember our saying over here, stay safe, stay well, stay out of Target. Until next time, bye guys. How's it going?